That intro music is a bop, I tell you, a bop.
The music was always great. Getting us ready for the weekend. Well, hello and welcome to today's Your Author program. My name is Diane Olivo-Posner, and I am the Principal Librarian, Associate Director for the Exploration and Creativity Department of the Los Angeles Public Library. And I'm here today with my fellow colleague and really great friend, Joanna Favicon, and she is the Senior Librarian for Children's Services of the Los Angeles Public Library. So today's program, before we move forward with today's program, we would like to pay tribute and respect and acknowledgement to the Gabrielino Tongva peoples as traditional caretakers of the land that we live in Los Angeles, because it is on this land that we are so lucky to work, to teach, and to learn as a community.
It is absolutely our pleasure to host the Your Author series today. Please feel free to use the chat box to communicate your thoughts, comments, and questions throughout the program. Also, don't forget to email ecdept@lapl.org to be entered into an opportunity drawing to win a copy of today's book, A is for Acorn by Lyn Risling. In today's Your Author program, illustrator Lyn will discuss her illustrations in the book A is for Acorn. Lyn is a recipient of the 2004 Community Spirit Award from the First Peoples Fund and had her first solo show at the Carl Gorman Museum Gallery at the University of California, Davis in 2005. She has also received grants and support for her community art projects and work with Native youth. A descendant of the Karuk, Yurok, and Hupa peoples of what is now known as Northern California, Lyn left her full-time teaching position at Humboldt State University to dedicate her time to her art, culture, and family.
We want to thank our generous donors, the Lenore S and Bernard A. Greenberg Fund and the Library Foundation, and our behind-the-scenes staff for helping with the library programs and everything else that we have to offer you. And now, for what we have all been waiting for, welcome, Lyn. Thanks so much, Lyn, for taking the time to be here with us today. It's wonderful to have you here so that we could get to know more about you and your creative process and your work with A is for Acorn. And I'll tell the little story. I was in Yosemite this past summer, and I came across your book, and I was so excited. I got my camera out. Other people are taking photos of the amazing scenery, which I did too. But I was so excited because I said, it's a book by an author and an illustrator who are Native Californians. Anyway, I was really excited, and I was so happy we were able to have you on our Your Author program.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
Do you want to tell us about your book?
Yes. So here is the book. A is for Acorn. And it was published in 2015. And I have to acknowledge the author. I am the illustrator of this book. But the author is Annalisa Treb, who is my distant cousin, but she's also a Karuk person and a member of the Karuk tribe. And she had the idea when she was working for Heyday Publications, who is the publisher of this book. down in Berkeley, California. And so she had this idea of doing an ABC book. It was kind of a collaboration idea with the editor of News from Native California and the person that was kind of running the Indian part of the publishing company. And her name totally escapes me right now. Think of it. But anyway, so they had the idea, and Annalisa came up with some ideas for visuals for the book, and then I also came up with some of my own, and it was a wonderful experience doing the book. But I'm going to get into it now, so we to share with you what the book is and what it's all about. It's a ABC book, so it's for geared towards young people and families. Both adults and children seem to enjoy it. So I'm going to start here. A is for Acorn. So I tried to use designs around the borders, as you will see, of different, sometimes basket designs and different things related to various tribes throughout California. And acorns is something that the native people of California all had as a main part of their diet. And there are various types of acorns throughout California. So I illustrated 3 of those types of acorns. So that's A, it's for acorn. Now I want to say that some of the tribes throughout California, there's also a set of cards that was published later to be used with native languages. So people that are working with their own languages in California, native languages, can the cards have you can write on the cards, the back of the cards, the actual word in your language of the actual visual images, such as this one here, of a coyote in a canoe. So this is C for coyote and C for canoe. And around the sides, you can see coyote's footprints and designs on the tops and bottom, which are kind of inspired by coyote's footprints, but also by basket designs.
It's beautiful.
And then here, go the other way. Wait, get this right. Okay, here we are. I'm kind of having to go backwards from, sort of kind of backwards for me. But here's D for the deer. Also, you can see the footprints in the margin and basket designs that kind of also kind of mirror the footprints. Sure, everyone recognizes this. E is for eagle. Oops, this one here. I'll get it right sooner or later. So again, I tried to use different basket designs that represent designs from various tribes throughout California. And this one here is the flicker bird, and his feathers are used from tribes throughout Central California in their regalia, headdresses and things like that for their ceremonies.
Beautiful colors.
Thank you. Oops, this one here, G is for grandparents. You can see that one there. And then this one is H for houses. And if you can see, as you can see in the 3 houses in front are traditional houses of Southern California, Northern California, and Central California, and then a modern house. So as everybody else, we live in modern houses today, but we still have sometimes in some areas they have rebuilt not to live in, but as demonstrations or for ceremonial purposes, these types of houses, such as the one in the back, which is representing a roundhouse, which is used for ceremonies. throughout the book, you'll see there's different plants that are used for by various tribes in certain areas. So this one, the iris, is used in our, how we use the iris is the fiber in the leaves are used to make string and rope and nets and things like that, that people used a long time ago. Some people have reintroduced the practice a little bit for use in ceremonial regalia. And this is one here is the juncus plant that's used by some tribes for various things in more south of, I think it's more in Southern California. This one here you can see is the king snake, which is, as far as I know, it's pretty, you could see this kind of snake throughout California. I don't know how common they are nowadays, but I have seen them in the wild.
Mhm.
And then this one, children laughing. So that's L for laughing. Which we all like to do, don't we?
Yes.
We need
love
more of
to
that nowadays.
Joanne and I have those kind of cheeks too.
This one here is, O is for otter. And this represents the sea otter. There's a river otter and there's a sea otter. They're a little different. This one has more of a white face. And we still have river otter around in our area, but I haven't seen any ocean otters. But I'm sure there's still some around in some parts of the state off of the coast.
Yeah. By Morro Bay, I saw otters.
Oh, great.
Recently, yeah.
Oh, nice. And this is the quail. And we have a lot of quail around here up in the mountains. We have mountain quail, and I know there's a valley quail as well. So the quail, there's at least two varieties that are probably throughout California. And then this one here, the R for rattle. Now the rattle, this kind of rattle is made out of a gourd, that grows. Some people grow them in their garden. At one time, they probably grew more out in the wild, but this rattle is used in song and ceremony among tribes of Southern California. And some of those tribes, we have beautiful baskets that utilize the design of the rattlesnake. So I put that, I wanted to represent the rattlesnake on the designs around the border.
Nice.
Let's see.
Salmon.
Salmon.
Joanna loves this page.
So, oh, great. So salmon is a really important animal and person for a lot of tribes throughout California. And there's a lot of issues around that salmon not having a healthy habitat as much as it used to. The waters have warmed up, and there's dams on the rivers way up north in our area and beyond. And so that's created problems for the salmon. So that's one of the things that we talk about a lot and try to figure out ways to solve that problem so that we can have salmon in the future. So salmon is a really important part of our culture and many cultures throughout California of native tribes, even though they're not as plentiful as they used to be. And this is the tree, T is for tree. And on this one, it's an oak tree, which is common throughout California. There's various types of oak, as well as various types of acorns, which I mentioned. And the design is a traditional basket design from our area up north in Northern California. But it reminded me of the tree, so I used this design.
Yeah, I love that one.
And then this one here is the urchin, the sea urchin. I don't know if any of you have seen these, but sometimes, well, if you find them on shore, like say on the beach, most of their spines would have probably fallen off, so they look different without the spines. But there's different colors of them, but this is one of the common colors, is this kind of a purplish pink color. And as you can see, the design, I tried to find a design that would kind of remind me of, or remind us of, the sea urchin. And then here is the vulture, which many of you, I'm sure, have seen flying around way up in the sky, looking for something that has died. That's what they eat. They eat dead things, but they're good in that way, and they clean up things, from the environment, so they don't just lay there and rot. And so they're kind of I don't know what you call them, but they have a good purpose in eating, things that have passed on, dead animals and things like that. And this is one variety of woodpecker we call pileated woodpecker. It's the largest type of woodpecker, and it's used a lot for our tribes way up here in Northern California, in our ceremonies, in our regalia. So it's very highly respected and considered sacred and a special bird. And excuse me, this one here, you can see what that is, an X. Now, I couldn't find any image that I liked that started with an X, except the letter itself. I didn't want to use the ones that were used in some of the other ABC books because it just didn't relate to our native California culture. So that's why I used the X itself, which you might see in some of the designs used in our cultures, our regalia and things like that.
Yes, we noticed that while we were reading the book, that this was the only letter that didn't have a corresponding text, English text
Right.
in the word. But
Right.
why do you need one when the design speaks for itself? We loved that.
Right. And then right here is the yucca plant, which is also a special plant used by tribes in Southern California, mostly, I think. And I think it's used for, I can't even remember exactly which, I think that might be used somewhat for medicine, but also for the fibers, for making things that are useful. Not sure if it's used in their baskets, but it might be used in mats and things like that. I was going to go back and look at my research to get that information, and I didn't get around to it. And then the last Z is, sometimes a Z is used to show that someone is sleeping, the Z. So that's what this one is. You can see baby sleeping. And the basket that this baby is sleeping in is based on a basket used by the Pomo people, and as well as the design around the edges. One of the designs that they use in their baskets. And then on the very back of the book, you'll see there's these different words, and they're words in different California Indian languages that all mean acorn.
Wow.
So I can teach you one, which is from the Karuk tribe. And in our Karuk language, we have a sound that's kind of a guttural sound. Kind of reminds me of a gargle a little bit, but you do it in the back of your throat, and it's ha, ha, kind of like a H, but with a guttural sound. So that's the first sound of the word, and the word is juntapan, juntapan. So you can hear that little raspy throat sound, juntapan, and it's somewhere in the back, on the back.
Juntapan.
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 Oh, yeah. It's right there. Juntapan.
Juntapan.
Juntapan. You can see the accent over the A. That means you stress it. It's a little bit higher. Juntapan. That's acorn. So now you know one Indian word for acorn. Juntapan.
Now we're trilingual.
Yeah.
Juntapan. Oh my God. That's exciting. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for taking through this book. I feel like even though it's just letters, we got to learn so many stories just from each page. I hope that conveys to everyone that it's a board book, there's the alphabet, but creating something like this isn't as easy as ABC, everyone. So thank you for showing that. But I just to speak to your process, I would imagine it wasn't even in order. You did not start with A for acorn, unless you did. Did you what letter did you start with?
You know what? I think I did start with A. Working me through.
Nice.
And yeah. So I did each painting on a little canvas that was, I think it was 12 by 12. So each a separate canvas, a square canvas with acrylic paints. And I did do a lot of research on different tribes and designs, basket designs and environment and things like that. So I spent quite a bit of time doing that throughout the whole process as I was going along, moving from one to another, one page to another, one painting to another. So yeah, it was a lengthy process. It takes time to do all that, but it was, I really enjoyed it a lot, and I was happy with the result, and I was glad that other people thought it was what they were looking for, with the publisher and the author, and yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Out of all the letters, did you have one that you were most excited to paint or illustrate, or did you have a favorite letter from this book?
I don't know. I really it's probably even, but one of the Urchin one was one of the most challenging ones to do all those spines. That was kind of challenging, but yeah, I enjoyed all of them. Yeah, I don't know if different people were attracted to different ones, which was interesting. So all the originals I sold to various people, and then a tribe, the rancheria down at Shingle Springs, bought several of them for kind of their educational program, that kind of thing. So that was really nice. And yeah, so like I said, different people like different ones, and so it was good. Yeah.
Like Diane said, my favorite. I was drawn to the salmon.
Oh, right.
I don't know. There's just something about the way that you captured there's something about fish scales for me and fish skin from fish, especially when they're jumping out of the water like that and they catch the light.
Oh, yeah.
At a certain moment. There's that sort of rainbow effect and glistening effect that I thought was just beautiful.
Yeah.
With
that
this
iridescent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I painted a lot of salmons, I have to tell you. Yeah, I have quite a few paintings that I did of salmon. I did a project with high school students several years ago. I got a grant to work with to work in collaboration with some group of people. So I chose to work with these high school students, mostly Native students, at McKinleyville High, where I lived. And so I chose the theme of salmon. And so we ended up creating during the whole year 4 panels that were 6 feet by 6 feet, canvas panels that centered around the theme of salmon. So we had a traditional story about salmon was one of them. There was one about traditional fishing methods. And then there was one about the life cycle of the salmon. And then the last one was about contemporary issues that I mentioned before, like the dams on the rivers, on the Klamath River mainly, and some of the issues around that. And so it was a whole year project. It was a learning experience for all the students as well as myself. And they did research on these various things that I just mentioned. It was a whole painting learning experience for them. We did all kinds of projects leading up to actual painting that canvas. So
Wow.
that was one of the sort of the beginning of the salmon paintings for myself too that I did on my own.
You're beautiful. Our one librarian friend was fascinated by the C for canoe and coyote because she goes, but there's a coyote in the canoe.
Yeah.
Who see?
Yeah, it just seemed appropriate because I couldn't decide, should I do canoe that everybody relates to, or should I do coyote that everybody relates to?
Yeah, the trickster, and I love how the paws or the footprints, which
Right.
as you go back and look at the deer, if you go hiking, if you're in Yosemite or any where there's deer, and you're like,
You'll
there's the
see
deer.
them.
I loved the well, I did love the pine cone, and I love the acorn because there's the different kind.
Right.
But I love the tree. There's something about trees that are
Yeah.
just so.
The oak tree is so magical and magnificent. The shapes.
Mhm.
If you look at them from a distance, just the shapes are so unique, and they're majestic, I must say.
Right. And they give that shade that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what particular stories can parents tell about the illustrations, which we kind of have been doing? I mean, if parents, I could see lying in bed with my boys who are older now, but if they were little, I would lie in bed and I would have them pick things out, I think, and say, what do you see?
Yeah. And you could make up a story, or they could make up a story with you, It's a
Exactly.
really good opportunity to learn about environment and culture and the different tribes, different designs, and that you could do. Well, let's find some homo baskets online, and you'll find a wide variety, And so, wow, I didn't even know they existed. So there's a lot of potential in learning for kids and adults as well.
Adults too. The homes. And if you get to go to, where they do have educational centers, and I know Yosemite did, where you could go into and experience how it was, sitting into one of the homes,
Right.
the houses,
Yeah.
and, the different structures and the different materials used, which,
Yeah.
very thought process of, weatherproofing. And like right now, it's snowing in Yosemite. So
Oh, wow.
they had to really think about what kind of material they used.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was wondering, are there particular stories that you had related to a painting in your mind while you were creating it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, coyote, we have a lot of coyote stories, and a lot of tribes do. So that's one thing. And,
Are there any
there's-
models for the kids and the people featured?
yeah, I mean, it's definitely represents a tribe from our area because, the tattoo for the women, for the woman. So I was thinking, and I have little grandchildren, they're bigger now, but they weren't specifically anyone, but I definitely you could relate to those as well as my grandchildren. So my granddaughter thought it was for her, it was her for sure.
Me.
What did you tell her? Yes, it's you.
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
oh, that's great. I'm going back to what parents can tell about the illustration. To support early literacy skills, we use board books a lot in the library, and there are 5 particular skills that we tend to promote and support and remind parents of. Reading is one of them, which of course you can read it straight through, point out to the letters and the words and how they relate to the illustrations. But other skills that we also talk about is playing, singing, writing, and talking. I mean, how do you see A's for Acorn supporting any of those skills? I mean, we kind of got into it a little bit already, but I was just, wondering what you thought.
Well, I was thinking of singing could go in a lot of different directions depending on the children and the parents or whoever's looking at the book with them. You could make up little songs, or if you've heard any songs, you might be a time to look online and see if there's anything, native songs. Our songs in our area are pretty much guarded, ceremonial songs, but we do have animal songs and things like that are a little bit more open. We don't record them for public use, but we do share. So I guess it would be up to the people that are, reading it, what they come up with. And it doesn't have to be a native song. It could be, something, you can make up a little acorn song, have the kids, maybe it could be a song that already has a tune in English that you can, transform into, something with acorns or that particular animal, playing, you could get some ideas like to make a puppet of one of the animals, and do a little, either a puppet show or something, a song or a story, have the kids make up a story about a particular animal, help them do that, or they could do their own illustration of a coyote or a deer, things like that. I think that, I read to my, both of my kids and my grandkids from when they were little tiny babies, from day one practically. And I really think that even though they couldn't read yet, it really instilled this excitement and interest in books and reading. And they all became really good readers and early readers. And, they're all doing well in school. And I'm sure that has a little bit of impact, on that as well.
It absolutely does. That's why we do what we do. Thank you, Lynn. But we try to convey that to parents. It's not always about, we're going to teach you how to read now by doing this. It's about that shared time together,
right,
and learning, and then instilling that spark, that curiosity, and that love and joy of reading.
Right. Yeah, definitely. My son, when he was, before he was 2 years old, he had, he knew 100 words at least. And that was from books that were mostly picture books, and he knew all these words from Richard Scarry or that
Which is
author.
scary.
Yeah. I mean, those were magnificent because they're all these different wonderful pictures of things, So yeah, it doesn't have to have words to be, inspiring and get interested in books, because the next step is reading,
Right.
Yeah.
I think you've already kind of answered this question, because what other takeaways do you want children and families to have after reading this book? But I mean, we've all kind of talked about it. The basket weaving, Finding out the different acorns that exist in California and, other parts of the U.S. if they are. I know there's different kinds of deer.
Right.
Joanna and I, when we didn't know, we were like, flicker, does that mean the bird or the sound it makes? But you said it was a type of bird. I mean, yeah, to me, this book is chocked full of activities and takeaways.
Yeah, discoveries. Yeah, you can go from just one page and do a unit on that. You know what I mean? Like, okay, that's a flicker. What is a flicker? There's other names for flicker, and what do they eat? Where do they live? And then what tribes use their feathers? And then looking at that, there are examples of tribes that are doing their ceremonial dances or demonstrations that you can see the feathers in their headdresses and things like that. So there's so much teaching opportunity, potential in, each page, I think.
Right. And how the bird sounds, because, you could definitely tell a mockingbird versus a jaybird versus, So now I have to go listen for a flicker.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I tend to think with my stomach. So I would go with, what are the ways that you can prepare acorn? What are the recipes? What are the foods that you can make?
Yeah, that's a whole nother big project.
Yeah.
The whole process from gathering to cracking the acorns, to drying the acorns, to grinding the acorns, to soaking the tan oak, which we use to get the tannic acid out of the acorn meal, to cooking, which we traditionally is done with particular kind of rocks that have been heated up in the fire and put in a basket with the dough, add water and cook them. I mean, it's a whole, seasonal process that starts from the fall to the next fall.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joanna. Now I'm hungry too. And people will notice the squirrels on the cover. And if you ever are hiking out and you see the squirrels gathering acorns too, it's, that's it's their mainstay too.
Yeah, I was out walking around my mother's house. There's some really nice pathways down in Davis, and there's a lot of squirrels. And it was earlier in the fall, and there was a tree that had lots of acorns underneath it. Not the kind we gather up here, but I picked some up, and there was a squirrel. He was gathering. He had some in his hand, and then I went back another time and gathered some. And then as I noticed, I separated them because I noticed I sorted through them because I noticed some of them looked like they had potential worms in them, little holes and stuff. So I took all of those and I put them around the bottom of the tree trunk in front of my mom's house, which is not an acorn tree, but there's a squirrel that hangs out there. And I thought, well, maybe I can gift him with these acorns. So I put them all around the base of the tree. And I'm pretty sure he gathered them.
He was bonus.
Yeah.
New best friend. So from everything that we learn and the learning opportunities in each page, and the stories that we can see, and even the people that are depicted on those particular pages, can you speak to the importance of this form of representation for a very young audience?
Now, what was that? Say that question again.
Oh, just can you speak to the importance of having a young child being able to see their culture reflected in a book for even someone as young as an audience that this book could go to?
Right. Well, I have gotten some wonderful feedback from parents and family about their kids and the little ones especially, and how it's their favorite book. It's their favorite book of all their books, and they read it over and over and over again. And it's mainly the illustrations, but also that they do, especially Native kids do relate to some of these things because they see it somewhere in their family or at maybe at a ceremony or something like that, or in their environment, a plant in their environment, or acorns or whatever. So it's going to be different for each child, but whether they're Native or not, they're going to learn something and they're going to be hopefully attracted to these images. And maybe because there's so much information with each page.
And speaking of all, I can see all the beautiful artwork behind you. What inspires you as an artist?
Well, as you can probably tell, my culture is the main kind of inspiration. The pieces behind me are not all mine, but a couple of them are above me. But some of them are traditional stories, and some of them are just from experiences going through ceremony and participating and being involved in ceremony, and other traditions that are coming back. I have been involved with family and other people over the last 50 years, really, of kind of a renaissance of our culture in Northern California that continues to grow and flourish. And a lot of young people have become involved, and we're, my grandchildren are participating in ceremony, which is really exciting. And but so these things, we had a particular ceremony we brought back for my daughter and a friend of ours daughter back in 1996, and we have a ceremony called Ihuk, which is a girls' puberty ceremony that hadn't been practiced for over 20 years. And through research and bringing a few people together and learning language around the ceremony and some old recordings, we were able to bring this ceremony back, revive the ceremony, which we are still doing today. But after my daughter's ceremony, I was really inspired to express my own experience and my daughter's going through that ceremony. So I started getting interested in painting again. I hadn't had a chance to do much painting for a while, raising a family and that sort of thing. So it just sort of went from there, continued on and has continued.
You mentioned the youth. Are there any words of wisdom you can offer any young creative minds or other aspiring artists?
Well, I think that just try different things and don't be afraid. Whatever you do, it's beautiful because you're doing it. I've seen a lot of different types of young people and what they do as far as art and what they like. And my own grandchildren, my oldest grandchildren, he looked at all my paintings and my husband's, and he got inspired from those. And he did a lot of design work in color. The second one was interested in illustrating stories that he created in his own head. So he wasn't interested in painting. He was interested in creating these stories. It was almost like he was acting out these stories as they were in his mind through his pencil, and created some spectacular images. My granddaughter loves painting, and she's learned to mix paints and has quite a bit of control of using her paints. But I try to encourage them without pushing too much, because kids you need to be able to express yourself the way you want to and explore different ideas and different techniques and try different things. Try painting or colored pencils, maybe painting on a big, big piece of paper, maybe with your hands, with your fingers, or, putting it up on a wall and painting big with big brushes. And some people work better with little illustrations and little brushes. trying working with clay. My grandchildren loved making clay things, and they created stories too with clay. So just trying different things and not being afraid, and don't think that yours has to be doesn't have to be something that you necessarily put on a wall. It's just fun doing it. It doesn't have to look a certain way. You don't have to compare yourself with other people. You're just expressing yourself, and that's good in itself.
Now we're going to turn to reading a little. What are you reading now, if you have time? Because I think you're pretty busy, Lyn. But what might be a must read for you besides A is for Acorn?
Oh gosh. I'm not reading anything particular right now. I do read the News from Native California, which is the magazine, the publishing company that published this book, which I highly recommend. I'm at my mom's, who's 90, almost 98, half of every month, and she has all kinds of really interesting magazines. So I've been reading some of those some of them are Indian based, like the one from the Smithsonian, the Museum of American Indian. And I don't have any to recommend for little kids, but there's some beautiful pictures in some of those. And there's some art magazines and things like that. I do read novels from time to time, but not necessarily right at the moment. But just there's just so much, out there to read. I think everyone just kind of has to find their own interests, and not be afraid to try something that somebody recommends. It might not be something that popped out to you on a shelf somewhere, but just take a look, and maybe it's not, and maybe you'll find that it is a really fun thing to read, and you'll learn something. I like reading historical novels, where you're learning about history, but you're learning about a particular group of people or a one character that's living during a certain time. And then you learn about what was going on all around them, what was going on at that time, and what was their experience like. How is it different from yours? I like learning about different cultures from all over the world in reading. So that's something I'm also attracted to.
Thank you.
Sounds very inspiring. And speaking of inspiration, can you share either what you're working on now or any upcoming projects?
Well, I don't have a painting I'm working on. I have limited my doing any large projects because of taking care of my mom and limited space. My little studio space, which I'm in now, is getting smaller and smaller as we speak, it seems like. But I did, this is something that I've been working on. It's a big round box. I don't know if you can see it. It has a lid, which
Ooh, it almost
is
looks like a drum. That's beautiful.
It has a lid that I don't have, but there's another one I'm working on that has the lid. You can see it's pretty large.
It's gorgeous.
So there are two large boxes, and those are gift boxes for a couple of dear friends of mine. So that's kind of what I've been doing lately, just smaller things, mostly gifts for people. And I want to do some kind of painting, just get back into regular painting, but I just haven't gotten there yet. But I will.
Well, it's still important to keep that creativity flowing, and those are beautiful. The colors are gorgeous.
Thank you.
Good job. So there's some questions that we got in the chat, and if anyone out there still has some more questions, we have some time to go ahead and add your question to the chat. The first question that I see that we got is asking just how long have you been doing this?
I've been drawing since I was a little tiny kid. I started out making cards with watercolor, like greeting cards for my family for birthdays and things like that. and then did art in school, since I was really little, all the way through high school. And then I ended up majoring in art at UC Davis. So I've been doing it for a long time. Yeah, it's kind of been part of me. And my mother and my grandmother on her side were artists and illustrators. And then on my father's side, which is more the native side, I have people that were basket weavers and made pottery with basket designs and also did some painting themselves. So I have art and also making regalia. I made a ceremonial dress for my daughter for her hook ceremony, and I've made other regalia for that purpose, and also teaching young women about regalia making as well.
Well, when you were at the University of Humboldt, what were you teaching?
Well, I wasn't actually a regular teacher. I actually ran the tutoring program there at Humboldt State. I mean, I taught tutors how to tutor is basically what I did. So I ran the tutoring program. It was in conjunction with the educational opportunity program at Humboldt State. Yeah. And that's where I ended up, because I was working there, I was able to go back to school and get my master's degree there. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Any other questions, Joanna?
Yeah, I'm looking at the comments. Oh, there was another comment about using yucca fibers and also eating the yummy blossoms. And the other question that we have, yep, there it is.
Oh, good.
I know.
Oh, good. Yes. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
And then the question is, what are some stories you'd still like to tell, if any?
Stories. Well, I think of my husband, Julian Lang, as he's the storyteller, but I have done storytelling. I don't really have time to tell a story, I don't think here, but they're mostly Karuk stories, and been learning a little bit of language, our Karuk language. So when I do tell stories, I try to incorporate some of that into the stories. But we have stories about the acorns, like how come we use in our area the tan oak acorn versus the black oak or the mall oak, or there's other various kinds as we talked about earlier. So there's a story about why our acorn, why tan oak acorn is used in our area, and it started before human beings came, when these girls were getting ready to come into the world when humans were going to be arriving, and so they were preparing for that, and they were weaving their caps so that they could make an impression on the creator. And so the tan oak acorn is, I don't know if you noticed on the front there, the tan oak acorn. Here I am kind of telling the story. Right there. Right there, you can see the tan oak has a bushy cap to it, whereas the other ones have neat woven designs on their caps. So the tan oak, she was a slow weaver. She didn't finish her cap in time, and so they were going to leave her behind, the other two acorns. But she went, after you weave a basket, this kind of basket, inside are all these sticks and fibers hanging out. I mean, it's all brushy, so you have to clean it all out before it's totally done. With hers, she turned her basket inside out and just put it on her head with all the sticks and everything sticking out. That's why she has that kind of cap. Whereas the other ones have these beautiful woven caps with designs. But the creator chose hers as not her cap, but her as the main food that our people would be eating. The other two made fun of her and they weren't very nice to her, but she was chosen as the main food that our people would eat.
Oh,
Yes, that
Very cool.
needs to be an illustrated story, Lyn.
I know, Lyn. Get writing.
Yes.
Get drawing. That is such a beautiful story.
That, not to add more work in your plate, but like that would be a beautiful picture book to see that story.
Yeah.
Yes. I hope that comes into fruition.
Well, you never know.
Okay. Here is the fun part that we like to include with all our Your Author programs. It's playing this or that, or what we like to call our rapid fire questions. So this is just for fun, allows us to learn a little more about you. So I'm going to ask you really quickly. And
well, before you start, because I looked at the questions.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
And you have to know that I'm a Libra. So
me too.
So, sometimes I'm this and sometimes I'm that. So it was really hard. Like, well, I don't know if I can choose. So I guess that's just how I feel at the moment, I guess.
And you'll find me as I ask this, I'll like the Libra in me will be like, I need to explain this a little more. Let's go with how you're feeling right at this moment.
All right.
And then I will try not to be like, oh wait, no, tell me more. It's rapid fire.
Okay.
All right. So in honor of this being an alphabet book, the first this or that is consonants or vowels?
I'll just say consonants.
All right. Good. As an illustrator, photo or painting?
Painting.
Nice. That makes sense. Flowers or leaves?
I'll say flowers.
Okay. 'Tis the season for these flavors, pumpkin or peppermint?
Oh gosh. I will say peppermint.
Nice. Sky or sea?
I will say the sea.
Okay. And as for songs, do you go for upbeat or soothing?
Well, that one can go either way for sure. I will say for right now, soothing.
Yay! That is very appropriate. It's a Friday, late afternoon. We need some soothing.
Yeah. Monday will be a different story.
Yes, yeah. We'll need all the upbeat that we can get to start the week.
Well, thank you so much, Lyn. It's been such a pleasure to have you here. And that ending story is going to stick with Joanna and I. I think we might have to tell that story again.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate being asked to share, and what a wonderful opportunity to be part of your program. It sounds wonderful. And yeah, I wish you the best of luck on all the work that you do and sharing with all these young people and families. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And don't forget, everyone, you could email us to try to win a copy of A is for Acorn. You still have time, and you will get it mailed to your house, thanks to the library store. So thank you all for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation with illustrator Lyn
Risling.
See, I almost said it incorrectly. Thank you, Joanna. Risling. Remember to visit lapl.org to find more amazing books, because we do have lots of them. So come on down and look us up online to find some great books. And remember, our next Your Author program is next Friday, December 17th at 4 p.m. Join us as we chat with young adult author Daniel Jose Older as he discusses his new novel, Flood City. Finally, our winter reading challenge has started. And so join the winter reading challenge and let a book charm, intrigue, or transport you. This reading challenge has started. It started December 6th, this past Monday, and it goes until January 8th of 2022. You can go to lapl.org/winter to find out more. And Joanna, did you know you could get a book, children's and teens, when they go into their branch or central libraries, children's department, or Teenscape, and they get a really cool book plate. These are from our amazing book plate collection of LA Public Library.
Oh,
Which
that one.
this one? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll say this one for you.
Okay, thank you.
This is yours. I really love this animal one. This one.
Oh, that's cool too.
Yeah, it's very cool. They're all cool. Just cool. Anyway, thank you all for attending our virtual Your Author program, and we can't wait to see you all very soon. Without your support, we wouldn't have these amazing programs, so thanks. Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you, everyone, for watching.
See you next week.